Hey, Katie. Oh my God. Are we really doing this?
We are. Welcome to Higher Downloads, where two moms, entrepreneurs, and spiritual seekers are getting real about doing our best to live life in alignment.
Yeah, and by getting real, we mean the raw, unfiltered voice memo version of ourselves.
And you know what we're really obsessed with lately: higher
hmm
downloads.
You know that moment when clarity arrives seemingly from nowhere? That's it. That's the higher download from your highest self.
Exactly, because we know everyone has the ability to access their own higher downloads. So nothing is off limits here. Everything in the wheel of life, from career, spirituality, motherhood, relationships.
Yep, everything. And really through the lens of higher consciousness and joy. And we have to share our higher downloads too, right? So grab your coffee
Or your crystals, or whatever you need to have fun with us.
and get ready to tune in to your own wisdom channel because receiving higher downloads means you can live your life in HD.
Higher Downloads starts now. Welcome back to Higher Downloads.
Welcome back, friends.
We are so excited to talk about the topic we're talking about today.
Mirror, mirror on the wall.
Who's the fairest one of Oh,
It's always you.
it's always you. Okay, mirrors. We're going to talk about
Mirrors.
mirrors. Everyone is a mirror.
Which, to be fair, I did not understand when I first heard about it. And so that's what we want to do for our community is we want to explain it a little bit more, share our experience with it, the good, the bad, the ugly, just all that stuff, right?
Absolutely. The biggest point of this is how much of a reframe it can be for your life if you use it all the time. Like we'll talk more about this, but the
hmm
idea of using it for everything. Everything is a mirror. Everything, no exception.
Yep. Yep.
So, okay, let's set the scene and make this real tangible. This is not about your mom or your deepest, darkest feelings about someone else, right? This is literally everything. So, okay, you're in line, you're shopping, you're at line at Target. And what happens? Somebody cuts you off.
Yep.
You're waiting there, somebody comes in, they are not following the expectations, the rules. They are not thinking about you. They cut you in line.
And they probably have a basket full of stuff. Not going to be a 2-minute checkout.
They just squeeze right there in front of you, and you're right there. It's so obvious. And your reaction to that, right?
Yeah. And so what does that look like? What does that mean? What do we mean by mirrors? Like, what did that person's actions invoke in you? As if they weren't a human, but they were wearing some reflective material. What would be reflected back to you in that moment is what we're talking about.
Yep. With no judgments, right? No, this is like the true dialogue that you're having inside. Not the thoughts you have inside that you don't want to like tell anyone, but what
Yeah.
really happens is the reaction anger? Is it frustration? Is it storytelling? They're an asshole. They're selfish. I mean, it could be anything. What are some
Yep.
other things? Like, what are some reactions do you have? Anything different than what I listed?
Oh yeah. And like, no, I mean, I was same, like following the rules. What a jerk. How inconsiderate. Don't they know how busy I am that I needed to go now?
Okay, and we'll talk more about this, but like the reality is all reactions that we have are telling us something about ourselves, right? Not telling us something about someone else.
Oh.
Yeah, because
So it's you said this, but to be clear, it's a reframe of how to orient against with the world. So instead of like everyone's against me or
Ugh.
um, everything is everyone else's fault. In the leadership world, it's called having an internal locus of control. So it's like, what is in my control in this situation, and what is this telling me about the way I feel? What is my internal state when this is happening externally?
I love that example and frame of reference because just inherently, most people, I'm talking about just volume wise,
hmm
majority of people in the world are not necessarily leaders or leadership positions, right? So just everyone can't be a leader. Otherwise, we'd all be leading ourselves, I guess. But to think about it that way, because if you haven't been trained in leadership, you might not even think about the fact that you might not be operating from an internal locus of control if you're just focused on yourself, right?
Right. And an external locus of control, just to juxtapose it, is about how do I control other people? Or how do I control other factors outside of me? And I'm sure for our community and listeners, we know that it's far less than we really want it to be. And expecting that others, people or things will provide what you need. Now, in reality, right, we do sometimes, like, we work in an office environment, we need someone. There's something about the way that the supply chain works, or you're waiting on an input from something. We're not talking about that. We're just talking about our internal state and responsibility versus blame, distinguishing between that.
Yeah. And I mean, ultimately, it's all about happiness and peace and satisfaction in your life because the
Yeah.
ultimate peace is not needing anything to change. So if your reactions are not evoking an unpleasant feeling that says this needs to change or this needs to have not happened for me to feel peace, then voila, you have eternal happiness.
Yeah, it's just data. It's information.
Mm.
So if, like you said, that a reaction causes something unpleasant, because we love having internal peace, it's like you didn't cause them to cut you off, but your reaction, if it's negative, if it's if it creates frustration and misalignment inside of you, it's data. It's a little ding flag that something is unhealed or unresolved inside.
Yeah, let's talk about because I feel like there's, at least for me, I didn't even think about the fact that there was a different perspective or worldview out there that exists that says, I don't have to feel this way about this, right? Or that this, not that this didn't really happen, like somebody did cut you off in line, but that it doesn't have to exist in your experience the way you inherently reacted the first time, right?
Yep.
And yeah, so was that ever a new concept for you? Like, I guess one way to say it is living in the movie versus observing the movie, right? Like,
Mhm.
and this is like a meditation principle. I think it's a Buddhist principle. Again, I'm not
Yep.
great about origins and citing the sources.
Right. I think our community has gotten the picture. We're like, we're not astrological experts. We're not AI experts, but we will talk about it.
Like, I get the concepts, but
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can
yeah.
pull it from like 20 places. So,
Right.
but the concept of are you a character in the movie or are you observing the movie and
Mhm.
witnessing it versus living in it and getting caught up as a character in the movie?
Yeah, and the ability to perspective take. Yeah, and another way I talk to my clients about it is, are you observing or are you absorbing?
Say that one more time.
Are you there's lots of R's. Are you observing,
Mm-hmm.
watching, and
Mm-hmm.
seeing what's happening? Or are you absorbing the energy or
Okay.
the
Yes.
experience or internalizing it, the storytelling, like you mentioned? Are
Yes.
you telling a lot of stories about how you're just the kind of person who's always a victim to people cutting you off?
Everyone's out to get you, and
Mm.
everyone's so frustrating and annoying. I thought you were gonna say the thing about reacting or responding,
Oh,
and
yeah. Well,
it's
that's another one. Yeah.
similar but different. So I like that observing or absorbing. That's it. So that's the distinction. And if this is a totally new foreign concept for you, my request would just be spend one day saying everything is a mirror after you kind of listen through what else we're talking about and just give it a test run because it is mind-boggling when you start thinking about it in this new perspective on how different day-to-day experiences can be.
Yeah, and everything, like, not just people, like the example we gave of with Target, but, I have a friend who just sent a voice memo recently about, like, looking at her bank account and it felt empty and it was disappointing. And I'm like, oh, because that is a reflection of how she's feeling about herself right now. So, she's just like, and so, yeah, I think it's just, if this is new for you, just try it. Like, just start it from that place of taking on a new perspective and being like, what is this teaching me? What can I learn? If a mirror were to just come up in front of me, what could I learn by looking inside?
Okay, yes. So let's talk about examples. I think the examples will help
Yeah,
illustrate
agree.
the types of things that can come up whenever you start looking at it through this lens.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I here's one. We are both business owners and sales and marketing is a big piece of running your own business. You can't have a business without sales.
Yeah, you got it.
FYI.
Tune in for more business tips.
And I mean, I really, when I quit my job and was like, I want to run a business, I really don't think I was like, I like marketing and I like operations, but like really thinking about sales and marketing and how much you'd have to really like, you have to put yourself out there. It doesn't just magically happen.
Ugh.
This is big today, right? With TikTok and Instagram and socials, and everybody's an influencer, and everybody, like, I get it. Everybody has a podcast. And there's something about people that either haven't done it, aren't bought into it, or whatever. And I'm so guilty of this. I've done this a dozen times where
Mhm,
I see someone else out there doing their thing, hustling, looking confident, posting stuff, and having that cringe reaction, right? Cringe, and it can be I could give 10 different reasons that it might be there. But I know for me, part of it was, wow, who are you to think that you have so much to say? Who are you to think that you actually are an expert in this? Like, you're not an expert in this because I'm not an expert either. Like, how dare you
mhm,
go out and
mhm.
do it? So that's one lens that's super easy for me to draw onto. And that's just a reflection of me saying, I'm not using my voice enough. I'm not being as vocal and open as I really wish to be, want to be, my business needs me to be, and all of that. Not that they're
Yeah.
actually cringe. Nobody's cringe. That's not real.
You're cringing.
I'm cringe. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. That's an exact mirror. I love that. I'm
Yeah.
cringe.
Oh, because
You're
that's such
not
a Gen
cringe.
Z
I'm cringe.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
If someone's like, "Oh, you're so cringe," it's like, "No, you're cringing because I'm a mirror." Oh, we could start a whole trend. That's a too long of a hashtag, but we could figure it out.
Yeah, yeah. I like where you're going. I like it.
Okay, so I really appreciate that one because I resonate with it. I actually also my idea of like cringe for people who were out and loud and out on, socials. I was like, oh, I'm never gonna be that person. And I now am back. I am now creating content and putting it out. And there were some serious blocks and things I had to go get over for that. And it had a lot to do with things we've talked about on other episodes of finding our voice and so for me, when I am walking in alignment and when I look at my, everything where I believe my soul contract and my purpose here and my astral chart and just everything that I know to be true inside of me is I'm a teacher and an educator at heart. And in order for me to do that and to move the needle and to share with others, I just use the key word, like I have to share. And so I realized that those blocks were internal. Those people were mirrors to see that I was uncomfortable and I was
Mhm.
disowning a part of myself. So I resonate with that one. And a similar one that I'll share, and we've talked about this before, but a little bit, but one thing that used to really trigger me were people who had high preferences for things. And now we all know there's like, people who are super high maintenance and maybe hard to be around, but I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about like going to restaurants and saying I don't eat this or I want sushi tonight or from Louisiana. And I remember like people for Mardi Gras have very strong preferences of what side of the street to watch the parade on, things. And I would get so annoyed with people who had such a strong preference. And I can now see in hindsight, after so much internal work, that that was a mirror for me to realize that I did not feel worthy of asking for my needs.
Mm.
I was raised in a household where I had to prioritize meeting the needs of others and parentification. And so for a long time, I was so triggered by people with preferences and who were willing to voice them. And I can now see where that came from. And those are things that I've healed and worked on. So it's another
Wow.
example to share.
It is. That's awesome. That is such a like it's so simple and happens all the time, right? You see people with preferences and I share and resonate with that, but in a maybe a slightly different lens where it's
Yeah.
like it bothers me. It like I've had it places where it's like it bothers me that you're so dead set and decisive about this. Like
Yes. Yes.
why
How
does
did you
this
just
matter
choose that
so
so quickly? Like,
yeah,
why
like,
does
where
yeah.
like, that's, like, almost like you're dumb. This is dumb. Why are you being like this? Like, there's not a right or wrong answer. And I think part of that is, me being too people pleasing-y and being not willing to be so strong-willed with my opinion, even if it's just an opinion and it's just something that I want, right? It's like, where are you not maybe not voicing what you need, but where are you thinking you shouldn't. You shouldn't be making an opinion. You don't deserve an opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, I was literally told to be small, act small as a
Mhm.
child. So, yeah, I mean, ding ding ding. So, basically, what would get what some of the typical things that are triggered in you, our examples are some, but maybe some of people are listening or thinking of their own, but it's like we just hit on one, unhealed wounds, areas that you've disowned or not stepped into your own power. I just hit on one where I was taught something, so a core belief that was imprinted on me that I no longer hold, but a way that I was brought up, or just things you've outgrown. Like
Mhm.
maybe, if you, here's another one that I heard from a friend. She's not feeling like she fits in a certain friend group anymore. She feels like she's outgrown it or, is moving beyond. And that feels some of the things that they always have always talked about now all of a sudden feels triggering for her and frustrating. And it's like, well, the group hasn't really changed. The group's dynamics are still the same, but something inside of her maybe needs growth. So those are some things like that you could be thinking about as you feel that, right? Is there anything else that you
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, why don't like part of the exercise is the observing, right? Like you have to
Mm-hmm.
pay attention first. And I think that there's a baseline requirement to observe this to say, I'm just going to observe everything that I'm judging, like that I'm bothered by. That's a great one for me. It's like, what's bothering me about this? And I think it's really like if you go and peel the onion layers back, the furthermost outer onion is strangers, right? Like someone you
Yeah.
see on social media, someone in line at Target. And like, what's bothering me about just observing them? If I know nothing about them, there really shouldn't be anything that bothers me about them. And if there is, that's a sure sign you have something in there that
Yeah.
either you want, you desire. It's really that. Like, it's really, you could boil all of those wounds, beliefs, whatever, down into something you're holding yourself from. And
Mm.
that it's just telling you that it's a messenger.
It is. And I was having a mini download when you were talking. So at the beginning of the episode, you said observing without judgment, which is true. But then you said like observe what you're judging. And so it's occurring to me that it's the judgment that is the flag to pause and
Hmm.
observe. So that's like step one, one and a half. And then the next phase is not to judge what you're observing. Because
Hmm.
the last thing we want is for then people to go into any kind of shame spiral. Like,
Exactly. Not
"Oh,
judging
what's wrong
yourself.
with me? Why can't I get it together? Why is this always like, big X on that?" Because
Mm-mm.
we're not trying to self-gaslight. We're not trying to self-flagellate. We're
Mm.
not trying to build guilt pits. It's just like, that is an unmet need, or that is something I'm feeling, like, just observe it. Just observe it.
Yes. Love that. Love that. Yeah.
Okay.
There's some
So I was
baseline
noticing the
rules.
judgment piece.
Absolutely, yeah. There's some baseline processes, beliefs and understandings about this that you have to incorporate or else you'll never be able to observe or witness and move through the process. So, and then the onion layer, right? Then you get into people that you do know. And I feel like this process gets ever more complicated the more you know people and are adding layers to the mirror, right?
Because yeah, it would be so much easier if you lived in isolation.
Yeah. Yeah, the mirror thing is especially important for people relationships. Although, yes, bank accounts, how you view all kinds of external non-human things is real, but I feel like the human aspect is the most nuanced and also the most beautiful because it's going to give you the most depth of
It
what
will. Yeah.
what you need for yourself or even relationally, like
Mhm.
interpersonal skills, interpersonal relationships. Because one we were talking about is getting triggered by like fake or performative people. And that, like, one thing I've always said is like, oh, I just can't do small talk. And I've been seeing a lot of stuff lately that like, oh, maybe not being able to do small talk is a trigger, is a trauma response. And then, but also like everyone hates small talk. So
Yeah.
not everyone, but
Not everyone.
not everyone. A lot of people say small talk is inherently bad. So anyway, that was one of like, if I can't go deep, then it feels fake. And then I also realized that like there's a lot of times I allow myself to get caught in small talk and get caught
Mm.
in surface level stuff. And I'm not willing to be the one that will go into the more vulnerable, deeper, conversations right away. I'm waiting for an invitation or something. And
Yeah,
that's my opportunity to learn from that.
it is. I can really relate to that. I have some relationships where it started off just so deep, and then others that it just never really got there or they're evolving into that. But it's a good point, like, because I can understand that feeling kind of frustrated in that exchange and being like, God, why can't we stop talking about the freaking weather or just like the PTA at school? Like, can we, did you know there's a new moon this week and how's it affecting you? And like, also, who have you seen as a mirror this week and what therapy are you doing? And like, also, how are we going to raise our children to be stronger humans? Like, and
Mhm.
then, but to take that step, that leap in that moment, yeah, it's hard and you feel that friction. And it's like, what is it in me that's feeling that friction?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. What about so there's the really I feel like we're going deeper in the onion.
Mm
And then there's the really like the really close ongoing relationships that you have with people, right?
hmm. Mm hmm.
And the reality is everyone else isn't perfect, right? We
No
can't
such
think
thing
that
as perfect.
yeah, no such thing as perfect. So I know what are there examples or is there a way to think about this where maybe it's not a mirror? Maybe they really are need help or maybe they really are saying something out of hurt and not this isn't always a mirror. Is there nuance to that?
There's always nuance. There's nuance to everything. Nothing's clear cut. And so I think this is a good moment to say we're not advocating by any stretch that you take on abuse or trauma or that you stay in anything that's unsafe. So let's make sure that that is very clear. We're not at all saying that. Big difference between self-reflection and self-blame. Huge, huge, huge thing. One thing kind of back to the observe and absorb that has helped me as a recovering people pleaser and some of my old patterns being raised with an abusive parent was is how can I take better responsibility of my reaction
Mm,
without feeling like I have to take responsibility for the other person's actions?
mm,
Because one of the things, this is a very vulnerable moment, but I'll share is that I had to realize that one of my coping mechanisms as a child was to try to make the adults in my life as happy and peaceful and safe and zen as possible so that I could stay safe. Because when they were anything other than that, then there was an issue with safety. And so I had a pattern of trying to take responsibility for other people's actions. And you can't. You
yeah.
can't do that. And so instead I've been focused on what is my responsibility for my reaction here, which may include in an unsafe or environment is to remove yourself, to set very strong boundaries, right? Like in
Yes.
that kind of way. Is there
Yeah.
anything else what are you thinking about from a nuanced perspective?
Yeah, that's I think there's 2 other added I think of all of these different concepts as, like, little nuggets, and then you put them all together, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
or flowers, and you have your little bouquet, and part of it like, this flower of everything is a mirror, that is always there for you, right?
Sure.
Always, whenever you're triggered, you're bothered, you're whatever the case is. But then the boundaries part comes in or the alignment part comes in whenever if you're putting yourself in the same situation with someone over and over again and you're getting the same reaction and you're continuing to be bothered and nothing changes, well then that's a habit,
Mm,
right? You're not listening and taking in that message and changing your action from it. So I think that's a big one is you can observe all day, right? There's the observe, don't judge yourself, love yourself, whatever the feelings are, but then there's still actions that come out of these lessons, right? Either it's showing
mhm,
you what you need to do for yourself, maybe it's showing you what you need to do or say to someone else or in the world, and you still have to take that and do something with it, which I think can be the hardest part of this process. If you can get past judging yourself, this
mhm.
is easy. This isn't easy.
It's not. It's I don't I was gonna say it's part of shadow work, but then I don't know for sure. But it could be because it could be exposing some shadow, darker side. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
fun. It's also not like, well, it's kind of gotten fun for us. We will voice memo about it, but like it doesn't start out fun. It starts out hard.
I think if you can release any shame or judgment of yourself in any situation, right? If you can accept those horrible thoughts you have or those like really like messed up judgments and harsh things that come in your brain, if you can just say, you know what, that's coming from hurt. I'm going to look into that and you can get to a point where it really does feel fun. Like, I feel like when we're voice memoing back and forth, it's usually like, "Ha ha ha, guess what
Guess
mirror
what
I
I
saw? And
discovered
this
today?
yeah, this thing is coming back up." Or like, "Oh, obviously I need to go do this because this is bothering me and I'm, haven't followed through." And it can become fun if you I feel like the shame holding on to the shame and the judgment is what makes it not fun. If you can let that go, it's easier.
Well, shame and judgment are never fun. They are very
No.
low vibrational emotions. They keep us stuck really low. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you just know you're perfect, but you're living imperfectly and you're discovering at all times, you're growing at all times. And this is just a tool to help you in your own self discovery, honestly. It's going to show you what you're stepping into.
It's one of the ways that I lighten it up is like Earth School. You are so funny giving me this
Thank
mirror
you for this
again.
assignment.
Earth School. So I try to have like that's where I like lighten it up and can observe for sure.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. It is, I think it's important, yeah, just to treat it as like, what do I need to know? What do I still have to work on? And again, I know some people get caught up in the frustrating feeling of the never-ending journey, right? Like,
Mhm.
they wanna be done, but, like, what is done? We're never done, and so that's a piece I feel like you have to let go of too, is the understanding that it's a never-ending journey, and
Yeah,
there'll
it's not a
always be another
destination.
mirror. Yeah.
It's another practice. It's another which I used to hate. We've talked about this. I don't like to practice. I just like to be good and check it off. And so, but it's a way to reflect back. I was going to say too, I can't always do it in that moment, right? Like the Target example, but also traffic or with a client or like a real like maybe even a heated situation or something. You can't always do it in that moment. You can't hit the pause button and then go into your whole thing. So journaling later kind of like an after action report, like I'll sometimes journal about it and the free flow writing as I think back to the experience now that it's passed, physically with time having passed, that allows me to observe a little bit better and then journal. I don't know, have you journaled through a mirror situation?
Absolutely. Yeah, and honestly, I feel like it usually comes up where I'm bothered, I'm not necessarily catching it, and I'm not good at real time. This is not a skill of real time that I'm that great at.
Mhm.
Usually I'm also, like, kind of an avoidant, right? It's like, if it happens, I'm bothered, I'm just gonna be like, move away, move on," and then I'm looking back and I'm like it's usually I catch myself thinking about it again. It's the
Yes.
things you
Oh, that's a good point.
ruminate on.
Yeah, you're thinking about
Yeah.
that meeting and or that
The thing
whatever,
they said, the one thing they said.
the one thing.
That's a really good sign. Yeah. So, that's where it comes for me is when like, what's floating in my head when I'm in the shower that's like I'm frustrated about? And then I was like, okay, need to spend a little more time thinking about that. If I can let it pass, it's usually just like they're having a bad day, whatever.
Mhm.
And that's a good sign for me that I'm doing okay. Maybe it was really about them. I
Yeah.
don't know. I think the other part is the lesson will keep coming back, right?
Oof,
If
you
you
are
don't
not
change your
joking.
habit. Or if maybe it's not you're not setting your boundary or taking action. Maybe it's not something so large, right? Some big boundary you need to set, but if it's even just a small thing like seeing people on social media, right, that are doing
Mhm.
something, you'll just see it over and over again. It'll catch your attention repetitively in different examples if it's really the lesson you need to reflect on.
Yes, it will. The universe has a beautiful way of doing that. Yeah,
Showing
and
you
so
the way.
and the other small piece I wanted to share is that internal work, like we said, is hard, and we're always fighting our ego.
Mhm.
And our ego is really satisfied to be like external locus of control stuff. What an a-hole, like, just wanting to be right. It does feel good sometimes to want to be right.
Oh, of
I'll
course.
just throw that out there as that's still hard sometimes and acknowledging that. But you said something, oh, I can chalk it up to them having a bad day. I feel like being able to then express that self-compassion, to be able to not always personalize, it
Yes.
does create a sense of peace.
And personalizing it, I would also say is similar, like the same as saying letting your ego have what it wants, which is to believe that it's all about you, right?
Mm,
It's not about you.
mm,
Honestly, most everything's not about you.
most everything, everybody's doing their own.
Yeah.
stuff.
That's right. So your ego wants it to be about you and wants you to be mad and defensive and get first and get your place in line and whatever that is. Or yeah, or have everyone like you. But if you are operating more of that compassion lens, then it's easier to reframe and realize that zoom out. We're watching this movie and it's not about us getting through line first.
Right. Yeah. I was just thinking that we've spent a lot of time talking about kind of the harder, darker side of things. But I think we'd be remiss if we didn't share that it's also important to notice if there's someone you really admire, and what you admire in them can also be just a mirror of either something that you do naturally and you're like, I just love when she does that. Usually when I have coaching clients, if they admire somebody or ask like who, think about a leader they admire, my client often has that capability or possesses that quality. They either just aren't as aware of it or they want to strengthen it. But it's something inside of them, or it can show an area that you might want to grow. But I just wanted to say that we can also use it in that positive way too.
That's such a good point. I'm so glad you said that because it's so true. It can be what do you like in them, and maybe you like it so much in them you're not seeing it in your own self.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Or it can what I have seen too is I used to do this a lot where I would see someone who had what I wanted and not be jealous of them, but say there's something special about them or they had some other thing that makes it easier for them to have it. It's what I really want. And then I would hold them on a pedestal of some kind.
Mm,
Maybe they're smarter, maybe they're this, not in a bad way, but just like, "Oh, I'm having, like, a little jealousy," but not, like, actual jealousy, but kinda, like, just envy, I guess, would be the right way to say it. A
mhm.
little envy, but, like, respectful envy because 'cause they're just so
Yeah.
much farther
Respect the
along.
game.
Yeah, and then realizing, like, I'm thinking that way because 'cause I'm holding myself apart from them and thinking I can't have that, and it's like, "No, I can have that too. We're all humans. There's not
Mhm.
actually something different." So, yeah, that's such a good point. It's a great way to look at what you desire from love, not just from anger or
Yep.
frustration. I love it.
Yeah, so basically, it all boils down to this. What if every person or thing you encounter is perfectly placed by the universe to show you something that you are now ready to see? Which this is when we need a dun dun
Dun,
dun.
dun, dun.
So, what's our challenge to everyone?
Challenge, pick a time frame, however long you want, 1 hour, 1 week, 1 year.
Well,
Whatever it is,
yeah.
right? And just observe. Maybe write it down if you're a list taker. Make a note on your phone. Just observe. What are the feelings that come up? And instead of just living in that moment, try to pay attention to what it's telling you. And from that, what can you learn?
Yep. Yeah, and this can be advanced work if you're working with a therapist or you're going through something or dealing with trauma, just a little note that you should talk to your therapist before doing that. We are not licensed therapists, but this is a tool that has definitely shifted perspective and provided a lot of healing and growth for both of us. So we wanted to share because we had been getting asked about what is a mirror?
And I think it's important to share that we really do use this
Yeah, oh,
every day, like
every
all day, every day. Like, I'm not kidding. All day, every
yeah.
day. And
And
not
it
like I'm consciously efforting around that, but
not
just
no.
it's a day in and day out observation, and it really makes a big difference in living with just more peace, more alignment, more awareness in a allowing that higher download vortex energy to be in focus if you're not getting distracted and lost and caught up in these big reactions, but using them.
Yep, it's made a huge difference for me. If I was giving a Yelp review to the mirror paradigm or whatever it's called, 5 stars.
Works every time.
It does. Takes
It
sometimes a little longer to move through it, but yeah, it's a really interesting and different way to kind of get back that responsibility of your reaction and truly back to alignment for sure. Yeah, all right. Well, you know how to hit us up on socials if you want to share something or how this might have changed for you. We love hearing from our community.
You just experienced another higher download. We are so grateful you joined us on this journey.
Yep. So if you're feeling that high vibe energy and want more, subscribe wherever you get your podcast so you never miss an episode.
And if this episode sparks something in you, we'd be over the moon if you'd share it with someone who might need this download too.
Yep. Connect with us on Instagram at Higher Downloads, where we share more behind the scenes magic and some bonus content.
You can also find full episodes, transcripts, show notes, and resources at higherdownloads.com.
Until next time, trust your downloads and keep vibrating higher.